Good morning, everybody. We were one and done to the long side on the 1 minute chart template. That was a heck of a nice big fat W pattern I was watching. So anyhow, got us in a little bit late, but this is more of an intraday position trading type thing. All I know is it ran up and nailed my 710 somewhere. I don't know. I know we had one ad. So somewhere in here, I was out with a little over 710, or I hit my 710 on that template. Now I did go in and work a short trade. Uh, right here you can see we had some break through the bands, the dual band setup that I'm getting ready to release. Just had one little issue I wanted to resolve. I think it's looking like it might be about 90% resolved. So what is it? I think they call it DirectX. So you got to realize a lot of these indicators on NinjaTrader that's operating on the .NET framework and a lower, older version of .NET framework than like Quantower. I think Quantower is on .NET framework 8, is it? And NinjaTrader's on 4 and change. So anyhow, um, I was noticing that the indicator was flickering a bit, and I don't want to put it out that way. So I don't think I've seen it happen once today, but I've been kind of distracted. But anyhow, uh, I was watching this crossover of the faster bands into the slower bands and was working in liquidity and caught this move down. So that was a pretty quick move, a bunch of grinding. So we got a big, nice rally run. A little bit after the open, there was a little bit of selling. Then buyers stepped in, and you can see, we stair step higher, low pivot, and then they run it up, and there's a prior level that I was paying attention to. First of all, we cleaned out this level, so we swept that level, but there's a prior pivot that I was watching right there. So we didn't quite make it up to that pivot from the selling the other day. So you can see we just got shy of that. But regardless of that, we were outside of the bands, rolled over, and let me go ahead and expand this chart a bit. So you can see we had the W pattern right here. So we had a nice big fat W pattern form, and then lift. And right in this area, there was a long signal triggered as the faster bands crossed through. This is after the 7:32 time window, and that thing just ran. Soon as it hit the outside of the bands, it was grinding, and then right here we got the crossover point, and down we came so far. So pretty quick run down to mid-band area. In the late afternoon Friday, we had that bounce. We had some gap up Sunday. We had a short signal in the overnight session, came down, had one lift event to mid-band, came back down through the U.S. cash session opening hours, had a second faster band crossing back up through the mid-band, and that one ran, and then finally now so basically it's kind of like playing ping pong, or however a ping pong sounds. It's kind of like we're going back and forth from one edge of the ping pong table to the other. It's kind of like, what the band, and that's one way of using the bands for looking for mean reversion points or points where you could look for a reversal after a significant move. So there we are. I just want to make absolutely sure the bands aren't flickering, and then I'm going to put them out on NT8 first, and then I'm going to roll them out on several of our other platform programs. And that's a big thing because I'm just getting tons of emails on this, so I'm really pushing to hurry up and get it out. And I just got the version that's fixed today in the wee hours of the morning, so I'm watching it today and I'm not seeing it do any flickering. So if that flickering goes away, and you have to realize, NinjaTrader has a certain amount of graphics capability, But what I've done to the bands to make them different from before, how it interacts with the additional graphics. So you can use some of the Microsoft, and I guess this is how it goes. I'm not the programmer, but I've had explained to me, you can use some of the Microsoft side graphics, but it has to really be coded right so that it's interacting with the NinjaTrader platform properly to make sure you don't have bugginess or flickering or some of the other things that are graphics related, not really. It's not like there's a problem with the indicator and how it's computing. That's all fine. It's just the the overall appearance of the indicator laying on top, being overlaid onto a chart screen or a chart to make sure it operates properly. So anyhow, that was the last thing that I was working on, and so far so good. I don't think I've had a flicker event. I've been really distracted this morning, working a lot of emails and catch up and watching morning the long trade, making sure I could be one and done. And so that all worked out. Bands worked out. Let's take a quick look at the GR88 chart. I'll pull that up real quick, show you what the action was on it. So on this setup that I've been showing, uh, you know, you can use the grid MA alert set however you want. That just kind of helps as far as the way I use it to see my bias. I like the cloud, the grid cloud crossing a flat spotted grid MA alerts to get into my trade. That was a decent move this morning. I wasn't at all interested in being short the market. I thought we're going to get some buying out of the open. I thought, or at least some sort of buy attempt. I would much rather be on the buy side than the short side. Was standing by here, thought we might get a W pattern and lift. Never materialized. I had down bars from here on down. So if the cloud passes through a flat spotted grid MA alerts on a long, I got to have an up bar. Here, the cloud passed through a flat spotted grid MA alerts, and I had up bars, and that was a long that ran pretty hard. Right here, the entry was right about here. You'd be short if you're working a short off that. Market's made a little bit of movement and now oscillating a bit. So anyhow, that you should have been one and done here. If you worked all the trades, there was a short here. It lifted, never came up and took out the most recent price pivot, or never took out the indicator. Never took out this. Uh, I guess you could call it the pivot point of the cloud. So I would say the least amount of stop you should use would be in alignment with that. The most stop you should ever use on this type of trade would be, right near the most price pivot. So you can use the pivot of the indicator from your entry as your stop, or if you're trading smaller size and you want a little more room to breathe, then use the price pivot. And remember, you can always add to the trade too. You get these big wick, down wick and ups. Anytime you get those big wick and ups, and when everything's all green, you can work in some additional liquidity if you want to put in some feeler liquidity, test it out as far as seeing if you're going to get some lift, and then when it starts building up some trend development into trend momentum, then you can add more liquidity and so on. So anyhow, that short trade, down, lifted a bit, got close to stopping out a person, then rotated again, gave you a little bit lower run, but never came down and challenged this pivot high. So if you see it lifting, you should bail on that trade and get out, a little bit off a break even, so a little bit of a loss there. Then you got the long signal, and that's the one. I'm not surprised. I expected some bit of rally today out of the open. It took a little while. It didn't happen like right away. The rally really started developing a good, about 20 minutes after the open. So there's 8:46 Chicago time, U.S. Central Time, or Globex time. We're getting closer to almost 9 o'clock Central, and finally the rally was starting to get some initial legs, and then it just was all up from there with no looking back. So remember, you don't have to trade on this high of a time frame. You can go on lower time frames, which I explain in various training videos to the group. Here's a good thing, just showing you some of the bugginess in NinjaTrader. Check this out. My candlesticks disappeared. This happens like once every other day or so. So what I'll do when I see that happen, I'll go into data series. I'll change this to like 16 days to load instead of 10. I'll hit apply, and then they pop right back, and then I just move it right back. Just little idiosyncrasies sometimes with NinjaTrader 8. So anyhow, there you have it. Pretty easy day, one and done to the north side, and you know, nice big W pattern in there. But watch for some updates. I'm going to start putting out a lot of updates. I got a lot of stuff that's wrapping up, and as I get the tools, I'm going to shoot little overview videos and let you know that hey, it's out, and we've already downloaded it and advised our group that it's available. And but anyhow, you should be one and done for the day. That was a heck of a nice run, and some pretty nice trade action today. So Friday, all down with a small little bounce end today, and today, we did have some lift, some gap up and lift in the overnight session. That was sold into from the Euro EU session going forward. And then now pre-market and US cash session, they've grabbed it and pushed it back up. So we'll see if they can go back up and break this pivot, go higher and challenge this next level. It's not a huge level, but we did have lift that day, and then sellers came back in. So I'll be watching that. And then above that, much higher is where we had that kind of the top of the last part of the pre-market session before we went into a one and done sell on Friday. So that sell was at about 7:33 hours U.S. Central Time. So one and done sell was on Friday, one and done long on Monday. Hey, we'll take that. Okay, everybody, have a fantastic day. Watch for more updates here at the Grid Algo YouTube channel. Talk to you later.